Aloha, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our SCC meeting for the month of January. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:11 p.m. I want to start by going around and doing some introductions again. And I'll start. I'm TJ Giel. I'm the SCC chairperson, and I'm also the representative for the non-certificated personnel. Anyone can go next.
Hi, I'm Tasia Figueroa Thornton. I am the Student Activities Coordinator and a teacher at Koala High School.
Hi, I'm Brenda Swan, and I'm the secretary and the PCNC at Kohala High School. And when I started the transcription, it kicked, was that Crystal Unknown off the thing. So she's not here now. Sorry.
Okay, I'll try.
I'm Michaela. Oh, hi.
Sorry, Michaela, go ahead.
And I'm Stuco's media secretary and student rep.
And I'm Amy Stafford, principal at Kohala High School. And yeah, we're really missing a lot of people now. All of a sudden, the Crystal disappeared. We seem really small.
Yeah, it seems like it kicks her out, I think, when we start to record, because I think we had that last problem at the last meeting as well, too. So I don't know if it's because she's an unknown person. I don't know why it does that.
It comes up with a little message and says, the unknown person, due to a technical difficulty, this person, and then it says unknown, will be booted if you start the transcription. So.
Okay, she's going to try and log in again.
Okay.
As we kind of wait for Crystal to kind of try and get back on. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today for our SCC meeting, and want to wish everyone a happy new year and hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday season as we coming back into our new year here at 2023. Excited and ready. So the approval of minutes, I attached the minutes in the chat for you guys to take a look at while we're waiting for people to get back on. And Brenda, I just got a few little minor detail corrections on the minutes. It's just punctuation stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll give this to you later to correct. But with that said, can I get an approval of the minutes, please? A motion to approve minutes?
I see Sherry.
I'm sorry, Michaela. It has been moved for Michaela to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting minutes approved and will be filed. Moving on to the next agenda item we have is our meeting days. Ms. Stafford, did you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Yes, I just added that in. So we've been holding our meetings on the second Thursday of each month. I now have, since we made that decision, I have principal meetings every Thursday on the second of each month. Most of the time we finish in time and I'm able to jump on. Last week, there were some complications with me being ready because of that meeting. And in addition, we receive more information at the principal meeting that I feel would be appropriate to share with you. So I'm wondering, rather than waiting a whole month, because that's what's been happening. If we hear something, then I'm not able to share it until that next month. So I'm wondering what people think about either doing the 3rd or the 4th week each month. I'm kind of looking, and I know sometimes games might interfere, so we can, on a month-by-month basis, we can kind of adjust if we need to. But as our set time, does the 4th Thursday of each month work for people? And then that gives a little more time for us to advertise more, to hopefully start getting some more people to attend. If I get information at the principals meeting, that gives me time to talk to staff about it and then present it here, which has been another weird overlap with the timing at the beginning of the month. And then we can kind of sum up the month and have that monthly, all the information that comes down each month. I feel like I can share it in a more timely basis. Does anybody have thoughts about moving the meetings from the 2nd Thursday to the 4th Thursday of each month? With some flexibility if needed, because I know, like Sherry, you have games sometimes that you've got to be at. And we try to go support athletics and not be in meetings right in the middle, right when a basketball game is starting or something, but as our main date. Any thoughts on that?
I'm fine with that.
I think it'll be okay. Just depends. TJ, volleyball games are usually on the weekends.
Yeah, you're right. But I think, after looking at my upcoming volleyball schedule, it seems like Thursday's the day off. To the whole season, Thursday's the off day.
That's
So it would work for me.
Yeah.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for joining. We're kind of looking at probably changing our meeting dates to the 4th Thursday in the month. So does that work for you?
Right now it's the 2nd Thursday, and Jess and I are both finishing up principals meetings on those Thursdays. And then I was telling them, Jess, that a lot of times I'll get new information at the principal meeting or stuff at the beginning of a month that I want to share with staff, but I don't want to wait another month to tell SCC. And so there's this weird overlap. And I feel like sometimes I'm sharing information with SCC that staff haven't even gotten yet, or I have to wait a whole month, another month to share with SCC. So I think it'd be a little more timely in our communication trail. Okay. And then that guarantees that people have the whole month to read our newsletter, and we can put some things out on social media, and we can try to start doing some things to draw people to the meetings. Okay. Thank you for that adjustment. So that means our next meeting would fall on February 23rd.
Right.
Which I think you're going to be on Oahu, Jessica. But Jessica's got, as her new position as curriculum coordinator, she's like got all these upfront trainings and visits. And but if we're meeting later, you'll be done maybe that night, and you'll be able to join us before you guys go to dinner or something maybe. Perfect. That makes me feel better about the processes that we have in place and how that communication trail will work. Okay, next thing. I'm so sorry that I do not have a beautiful PowerPoint. I actually have a PowerPoint. I set it up at the end of each month for the next month, but there's no information in it. So it's all going to be verbal today. But I am going to put together a PowerPoint put all this information in a PowerPoint for Brenda to attach, and then also have on our website. So people who don't watch the recording or need some visuals, they'll be able to access that. So the first piece on the agenda was just about kind of summing up semester 1, and then sharing a few things that there were changes for in semester 2. So Miley does a great job. Every month she tracks our overall daily attendance percentage. And right now, each month, our percentage has been 90% or higher for our daily attendance rate, which is about 2 to 3% higher than last year for each month. What I'm really anxious to see is the January data, and this is tough because over winter break, a lot of families take extended trips, and we've had several students that have been out for a month-long trip because they're traveling back to the Philippines or places that require a longer time out. However, our daily attendance rate in January last year was 78%. So at the next meeting, I'm really hoping to show that that was much better this year in January, that overall percentage. So that's how we've been tracking that. One positive thing that I just shared with Brenda today about our attendance is when I talk to parents, whether it's about attendance or other concerns, they'll call and share with me about somebody being sick at home. And they're like, I know, that it's not excused if my daughter doesn't go to a doctor. So I'm making sure I'm calling in, or, I send her to school if it's not too bad. So I think every single person that I've talked to is fully aware of that and our attendance policy. And there's definitely a more focus and overall awareness with our families. We'll see with our daily attendance rate, and then we're going to be tracking within our academic review team, like particular students and where our chronic absenteeism rate is halfway through the year versus last year. But I am seeing an improvement from our communication where families are just a little more aware and they start making sure their kids are coming to homeroom. We still have some of those that it doesn't matter. We've sent home lots of letters. We're getting ready to send, or emails. We're getting ready to send home. At semester 1 was, if you've reached this higher number of absences and we've already given you many opportunities and reminded you and you're still not calling in, they're getting a court from the letter. Or a letter from the court that's just a reminder that they're required to work with the school to try and get their child to school and make sure that they're communicating with us on a daily basis to let us know why their child isn't in school so we can help them. And that's the next step to a court referral. And I don't think any schools, especially in the last 4 years, have done court referrals just because of transportation issues and COVID. But a lot of schools are at about the same place where we are, where they're halfway through the year, they're sending these warnings, we need to see a change. And right now it's less than 10, but in a school of 250, 10 is pretty significant to already be receiving this. So that means they most likely have over 15 absences, which means they're chronically absent. And we really don't have reasons why they've been out as well. No one's calling in. So while we're seeing some things improve, we're going to just pull up those numbers to get some more specifics. But I think the awareness and the efforts are definitely much better. We're still just seeing that homeroom kids aren't taking it seriously. So we've got to continue to find things to get them excited to want to be to school on time, because we know they can get to places on time. We see kids that graduated that never came to homeroom that are driving down the mountain at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, but they couldn't get it to school in town by 8. So we're just going to continue to revisit that to get kids here during homeroom. I do want to mention just quickly, because it kind of goes with this, we did, and we'll go in more details later on the agenda, but I did survey teachers on what they felt about starting later and if that would improve attendance. Oh, Gina's at such a cozy place. I did ask staff if they felt starting later would make a difference. Everybody knows the Are you good?
Can you hear me, or am I muted?
No, now we can hear you. You were muted.
Okay, let me mute it.
Okay. So funny. We might have to archive this recording. People are aware of the data that shows that kids have a harder time showing up at 9 or at 8 o'clock. Like earlier is definitely not better. And there's a lot of people that are in support of it, but there's also some concerns about that later starting time and what that schedule might look like. Does that mean that we're at school much later? Are we going to have the same problem on the other end where kids are leaving early because they don't want to be here until 3 o'clock or 3:15 instead of 2:15. We've just got to kind of weigh that out. And we also need to get some student feedback on it. So we're definitely not ready to do anything like that next year, but we have a good starting point for conversations as to what that would mean. And I'll talk a few more details around that and where that conversation is going to go. But is it that the kids will be late no matter what, and 9 o'clock will just be the new 8 o'clock? We might have to, if we all decide that it would be good to try it, then I guess we'll find out. But another thing about semester 1, I didn't have this data pulled up right now. What I wanted to do is look at our grades and see, but we've just sent out report cards recently and I didn't pull that data fast enough. But I will tell you the one thing about completion for semester 1 is all of our seniors are required to finish PTP by the end of first semester. That's their personal transition plan. And we tried to pull that into every grade this year, that each grade finish their component in PTP so we don't end up with seniors having to do everything from all 4 years. Most group, 9th grade was the most successful because they have it embedded within their classes where they have time to work. And we only had 3 seniors that did not finish on time who have been given their final date. If you don't know, the personal transition plan is required for graduation. It's worth a 0.5 credit, which some kids need, but it's a requirement that the state puts out for all students in Hawaii. And if you don't finish it, you can't graduate. It's like a required, it's not even a class, but it's a requirement. So we're going to be working with those 3 kids. We've got our fingers crossed and feel confident that they can finish, but our freshmen by far did the best with finishing PTP. Our juniors were struggling the most. They felt like I'm a senior next year, I'll just do it all at once. So that's leading us to kind of revamp how we're incorporating all of these components into classes in grades 9 through 12 and how that can become part of the student's grade because it's embedded in the class. But then when they finish the assignment and it's all good, they can just upload it to Google Classroom or to their portfolio to meet that PTP requirement. So we've suffered a little bit, some of us more than others, with the consequences of not having PTP done and how that affected your quarterly celebration participation, but it's helped us kind of rethink and be a little more committed to how we're addressing that need moving forward. Any questions about attendance or grades moving forward? I do know we were really focused on seniors right now, so I have more data on seniors, and it's a handful that we're looking at that may have failed some classes that we've got to put some interventions in place for right now. So that's where we've been kind of focusing at this beginning. Go ahead, TJ.
I had a question. If students say, like today, like, oh, I had a kind of runny nose or something, and I stayed home today. I didn't go to the doctor. I stayed home, and then the next day they feel better, and then they come to school. That one day that they're out, that's unexcused.
Yeah, so with it's unexcused in the eyes of the DOE because to be excused, you have to have a doctor's note. Some schools do it differently. It's really kind of a shame because every school has a different policy for what they excuse. The only things we excuse here that show up green as an AE or if you have a doctor's appointment. But if you call in, we make note of why you were out for that day and that we heard from someone at home that they're aware you're home. We make note of it and it doesn't count against you when you're qualifying for quarterly celebrations, when we're sending letters home, because what the court asks is that you're keeping in communication with the school and letting them know why you're out. So it makes more work for Brenda and I because we can't just go by numbers. We have to go into Infinite Campus and count how many days the students are out or classes they've missed where there's no reason noted for being out. Those are the ones that we're keeping an eye on and holding kids accountable for. But in the eyes of the DOE, it doesn't matter if you have 15 days that are all excused days. Every day is you're absent is counted against the school. So even if you have all excused, you can still be chronically absent. Yes, Mrs. Patel.
I would like to implement something where the kids are excused in the eyes of the school if they've gone to all their teachers and gotten all of the work that they missed, like the day that they were out or the day that they missed or something like that. I feel like them following up as much as they're told to do it, they often don't at all.
Ooh, that's interesting. We'll make note of that and bring that back to the staff, and Brenda and I will kind of we'd have to come up with how we could track that, like how we know from each, it might be a form that the student has to turn in or something with just teacher signatures that they came, you know, they were absent this day, they came in, and we could just put it all on the kids. They'd have to do everything, and then all we would have to do is just note it in Infinite Campus like we are phone calls. And is that just checking with you for work, or actually doing the work and trying? I guess that would be reflected more in their grades. But at least if they check with you, you know they've followed up to try and make up the work that they've missed. I want
a whole thing. Like, I want them, like, it filled out in their planners. I want them, like, that they've gotten the work, that they have it written down, that they know what they have to do. Not just like, oh, check, I went and talked to my teacher. I want something in writing.
It'll also be great if they took that then signed form from their teachers to their families to then get that signed. So even the families are aware of their work that they need to get completed.
Well, we know that their families know that they were out. That's that confirmation, and that they know they've got work to finish.
Does emailing you count?
Yep. I get emails, I get texts. Miley gets emails and texts, or emails and calls.
Because I know when Taya was sick, she was out for like 10 days when she had last year. She emailed her teachers and asked for work. She emailed every teacher on her own, and that really worked for her because she got work done while she was stuck at home, and she kept in contact that way. So maybe that might be also a good option.
Yeah, they could still have that form when they return that their teachers sign off on, saying, yep, she was absent these days but kept in touch with me and kept up on the work, and then you'd sign off on it. That's what would get turned into me and Brenda, so we could mark it, or to Miley even, so she could mark it in Infinite Campus. We'll check into that next year.
I definitely feel like Taya is one of the exceptions, like, to this. I feel like she is a very responsible student. I don't think that's like the majority of our kids. I feel like we need some sort of system in place that I feel like I get emails every once in a while, like once in a great while, from kids who are absent, but it's not in the majority at all.
And I even hear Cheryl and Miley when parents call in, okay, tell your child to email their teachers and let them know they're out today so they can keep up with their work. So, you know, within the office and with all the teachers telling them, and stressing it in their own classes, we just need to make it more habit. I've had I will say it's increased for the better this year. I have students emailing me, letting me know ahead of time when they're going to be on vacation, or and asking me what they should do. Whether they don't necessarily all follow up either after I say it. They have good intentions, I think, with reaching out to me ahead of time, or they let me know they were out of school or why they're absent. But yeah, I think if we make that really clear, that puts it more responsibility back on them, and then it is what it is. You can't argue it. So I like that. Maybe that's something our new curriculum coordinator can help us with too. Any other thoughts? I really like that. Any other thoughts about attendance or grades? We kind of got into a conversation in our grade 11 and 12 meeting yesterday, just around grades. And because we're a standards-based education school, the need for explaining what standards-based means to parents and students, making sure they're aware, and turning all of our communication toward where the students are in their proficiency toward the standards and the targets in each class, instead of focusing so much on grades. Because what happens is students get a C back on a test, and they're like, oh, I passed, and whether or not they learned anything is questionable, and the fact that they don't even care if they learned anything, they just want to make sure they passed and that it's good enough, is concerning. So we kind of have a larger concerted effort this semester to start changing our language and how we're communicating with kids. And instead of just saying, oh, you got a 1 or you got a C or you failed, letting them know exactly what skills and standards they still need to show proficiency on. So I'm a big proponent of not putting grades on anything, just circling stuff in red and turning it back to kids and making them take a look at it and fix it before letting them know how they did. Because then they're focusing on the learning and the content instead of just that grade at the top that determines how they feel moving forward. So we definitely know that we need to communicate better and be clearer among our staff just on getting that information to parents and understanding how to read the information that's in Infinite Campus, giving some training on that as well. So now that we're back in person, full blown, we got to get back to our in-person parent trainings that we had before. And I just wanted to make people aware of some semester 2 changes. So Margaret Hoy did retire. And we have Matthew Jakelski, who is the glass blowing shop owner, who's been teaching our art classes just on odd days. He comes in and has homeroom that day and is teaching all the art classes. And I think I mentioned before, Ms. Schultz has taken one of those art classes, is teaching Design 1. So we're really happy to have him, that he was willing to come in and sub for the rest of the semester while we look to fill that position for next year. We also have Jonathan Simmons, who is subbing full-time in Mrs. Patel's old line, but only half of it. He's teaching all of her writing classes for 11th and 12th grade. And then we have Kylie Coito, who is teaching 2 11th grade health classes that are also a part of that line now. And that's all the new teachers. I had already announced Mrs. Patel as the curriculum coordinator and making that move. And then the other big semester 2 change, but I don't think it's as big as I thought it would be. It was for like the first couple of days, is students voted on whether or not they'd like to open up the cafeteria for semester 2 again, and give teachers a break from feeling like they had to open their rooms. We've got our new staff lounge open. So I was encouraging teachers, get out of your rooms, actually go take a break and go in our nice new staff lounge and, you know, make the kids eat outside and in the cafeteria. So we did vote. And actually, the majority of the votes was to stay eating outside, but there was about 82 kids, I think actually exactly 82 kids, that voted to eat in the cafeteria. So even though it didn't win, we decided to open up the cafeteria just for lunch on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, because it was a pretty significant student population that did want to eat in the cafeteria. And that first day, there was really only enough kids that filled up one row. Verna's telling me, or one side, Verna's telling me there's about 2 tables that kids are eating at now, but I'm going to head up there for the next couple of days. We're definitely keeping it open for the semester. And I think when it rains, kids are going to very much appreciate that that is open instead of having to crawl on a bench underneath someplace. But we kept our outdoor spaces open except for the STEM area. You can't eat down in the STEM area. So I don't know. It's nice to have it as an option. We'll see what the kids do moving forward. But we've had some nice days and kids still seem to enjoy eating outside more. So, all right. Any thoughts or comments about our semester 1 summary and our semester 2 changes with some new teachers? Okay, we're moving right along. I did share with staff yesterday and today. I shared with departments about some changes we needed to make to our financial plan because of adding in some additional teacher positions and losing some of our sped money for next year. And our numbers are going to be down. We right now are only slated to have 38 freshmen. We know that we usually get more at the beginning of the year that transfer in potentially from Waikoloa or from Honokaa as freshmen. But our numbers are definitely going to be down. So we're putting our main focus on the classroom level, and that's with our teachers and our EAs. And then also, you know, for cleanliness and safety, keeping all of our custodial positions. So We did have to change. We don't have a permanent person in Miss Hoy's position right now, and we did have to cut that to a half-time position for now because Jessica moved into curriculum coordinator. The 2 periods that she had curriculum coordinator, we were able to move that half of Miss Hoy's line over to that position. And until we have someone in there, we really don't know what those extra classes would look like because it would depend on the strengths of the person who comes in. So as we look to see where we stand next year at the beginning of the year on our official count date, we'll be keeping that as a 0.5 position that'll be posted in actually soon in February for teachers within the state to be able to apply for. Officially, Mrs. McPeak, this is going to be her last year at the school. She did give permission to share that. She feels that everyone already knows anyway, but she will be retiring. So we are next year moving down just to 1 security position to start, just so that we can have everybody starting back from day 1 at that classroom level. The hope is to be able to eventually bring in 2 once we kind of get back it to normal in our numbers and with our funding. And then we are not starting with a VP position next year. I think I had talked with everybody about that next month. The price I think I was saying was $92,000 to $93,000, but it's actually $98,000. And when we use that much money coming out of our financial plan at the beginning of the year, we're kind of in limbo with other positions that we can keep while we're seeing if we can fill that. We've done it before where we sell it and then we buy additional positions. We're at a good space with the people that we have right now. We want to keep what we have. So we do have some side funding that we can utilize if we do find a candidate or feel that there's a VP that would be right for our school that we can pull in. But without having that at the beginning, right at the beginning of the year, it gives us that ability to keep everyone in their positions at the classroom level, minus the 1 SPED inclusion position that we did have to eliminate this year. That was a lot of information, so I'll wait for a minute, but any questions about the positions that we changed for next year? Yes, TJ.
You said that we're not going to be starting with the VP position for next year. And then when you presented to us, you said that if we're going to sell the position, we're going to use that funds for these positions. Is that changing?
No. So that was what happened last year, right? We had, not this year, but last year, we had the position, we couldn't find anybody. So then we sold it and we added in these extra positions. So rather than doing that, which would mean actually cutting positions now because we already have people in them, we're not starting with a VP position. We have extra money on the side that we can get a VP position without having to eliminate, like dropping any EA positions to 0.5 or, eliminating art altogether, things like that, so that we can start with everybody still on staff right now. I didn't buy that VP position, but we have funding on the side that we can buy it. And the reason for that was we didn't have enough funding. It would affect at least the 3 positions, maybe not entirely, but the FTE, whether it's part-time or full-time or 0.75. And I didn't want to do that. So we're going to wait and see if there's anybody out there that's looking to transfer into a VP position, or there's some candidates that are out there, then we can buy that position from outside sources instead of within our financial plan. Is that more clear? I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear this morning. Okay.
And just if you're wondering, that 808 number, that's Crystal. Thanks for joining us, Crystal.
Sorry, Crystal.
Sorry, thank you.
All right. Oh, I only have 2 more things, and then we'll hear from Michaela. So we did get feedback from teachers on the waiver days. We had 23 votes come back. Actually, it went out to all staff, but I only had 23 votes that came back, or people didn't vote on everything. So we did have 20 yeses and 3 no's for us to add in 2 waiver days for next year to do staff bonding, school-wide training, and then getting feedback from teachers on how we could best use that extra time, having one extra per semester. We're really trying to coordinate with middle school and elementary as best as we can, but they're using their days for conference days, which is a whole different waiver, and they're looking to use them all together, like closer together. So we're trying to coordinate as best as we can between semester 1 and semester 2 with them, because we know that affects our staff and our students. But we are going to move forward with the paperwork for waiver days. I know we discussed this at the last meeting, and asked for any feedback, that anyone might have, or training suggestions for those days that they might have, how we could best utilize them. But at the time, people that were on the call seemed like they were in favor if that was something that was best for the school. And teachers did vote in agreement of that as well. So we'll move forward with the paperwork. But TJ, do we need to do an official vote with the SCC on the approval of those 2 extra waiver days?
I don't think that we need to vote, but I think that we need to process the paperwork. Yeah.
Okay.
The waiver days come from the SCC, I believe. But we don't need to vote on it.
Okay, so you and I can finish up that paperwork then and make sure we get it submitted. Thank you. I didn't realize it's not just one general, because I've never submitted for extra days. I thought it was one waiver day paper, and then you explain what you're using the time for, but there's like 3 or 4 different waivers that you can apply for, and they all have different paperwork. So we'll work through that end. I'll work through that end with TJ to get that in. And then, yeah, the other feedback was just on the bell schedule. Like I was saying, there was definitely mixed feelings on whether or not we should start late. And so I'll just give you it was actually definitely more in favor of starting late, and people had very specific reasons why. Mostly around students just their brains not being in a space where they can learn at 8 o'clock in the morning. Some people were saying no one should have to process all this information at 8 o'clock in the morning and what that meant. One of the biggest concerns was, what about students who have siblings at the elementary school or their parents have to get to work? However, our EAs, we could adjust EA schedules and offer like before school opportunities to teachers to be able to allow kids to be on school campus early. I think we have a better chance of having more students on campus, like at our student STEM center, if we open it up and have ping pong tables and finally get that going. Maybe we'll actually get students to school because it'll be kind of like free time. There could be time for study time from that 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock time, and then they would actually be on time. And it wouldn't affect anybody. They could still come at 8, because we could open up the campus and have some before school opportunities instead of after school opportunities. So there are some interesting conversation pieces for us to still process and work through before we make that decision. And so as we move through over the next year, having those conversations with staff, if we do come to some conclusions, and after talking with students were surveyed last year, and the majority of them said they would be on time if we started late. But, that's easy to say. Yeah, if it was, I know last night's basketball game, by the time I got home, was super late. And so I'm sure that our basketball players would have appreciated having a little bit of extra time to sleep in today, and cheerleaders for that matter. So, with athletics in high school, that's also something to consider. A lot of things like that students are involved in. So we'll keep you updated on that, but it's definitely not anything we're looking to do soon. I think we've got a stronger conversation piece going, because I just left it open and said, tell me yes or no if you're in agreement with starting at 9, and tell me why or why not. So since it was open, people offered a lot, which was great. So we'll be kind of talking about that later. Michaela, what are your initial thoughts as a student, and what do you think about people that do you think starting school at 9 o'clock would be better than 8 o'clock?
For me personally, well, at the moment, I'm not able to drive yet, but I'll be soon. So I feel like right now it's kind of a problem to start late, because I'm like one of the earliest to get at school. I'm at school like 7 o'clock. Like that's really early, but I know that would change once I can drive.
Right.
For other people, I'm pretty sure they would want school to start later, because people won't go to homeroom. And like some people just come late. But I guess it just depends on the situation of each student of how they get to school.
True. Schedule wise, it would still work out with the elementary school and lunch too, because even with starting later, we'd have lunch just a little bit earlier, but elementary's already done. That was one of the biggest things. How would that work? Because we have 3 different schools that share one cafeteria. So there'd be some fine tuning, but lots of details to work through and information to sort through. So we'll see where that goes. And I was just asking if people can help spread the word in report cards. We sent home the SQS letter, which is the basically parent survey feedback letter. And it has a QR code or a link that parents can go to fill out a survey, just to let us know, what are we doing that you like? What could we improve upon? And what suggestions do you have? What are you hearing from your student that might help us do better for them? So it really doesn't take that long. I did one from each of my kids already. If you have more than one kid, it's a different link for each school, but it's pretty quick. And it really does help us. And when we only get 14 parents respond to the survey, our data is not valid enough to be able to see what types of changes we need to make or to confirm what we're doing is working. So, I'm really trying to get some help from Melissa and Ross to get some flyers to give out at the basketball game on Saturday. So while people are just sitting there waiting for the game to start or during halftime, they can just click that code and fill it out on their phones real quick. But we're really shooting big. I want to get at least 80% because I feel like that'll give us a good school-wide voice with our families. So please help spread the word. We're going to try and get a little more creative in how we're getting out these QR codes, so we can hear from more families this year and get some suggestions. Go ahead, Gina. I saw you raise your hand.
Sorry, I think I pressed it by mistake. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Wait, let me check. Shoot.
We're so jealous.
I'm listening. I'm trying to listen. Okay, wait. Let me turn it off. Shoot. Sorry.
She's so dedicated.
I'm stuffing my face. Sorry.
Unless people have questions, that's all I have. I was going to turn it over to Miss Thornton and Michaela to give us any student activities updates.
Go for it, Michaela.
Okay, so since that our student section was a big hit last night at the basketball game, we're planning to do another one on Saturday night for the senior night. And we're planning to decorate it with 2 banners at max. With just senior night, go Cowboys, and then balloons. And hopefully that could just draw attention for a lot of students in our school to come and help cheer our Cowboys on for their game.
Was there anyone that wasn't there last night that doesn't know what the student section looked like? I think, I guess if people watch the recording, maybe not. But yeah, you guys just had all the students sitting on one end right behind the
cheerleaders.
Yeah. The cheerleaders, yeah. We're all like cheering at the same time with the cheerleaders as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's really loud.
You know, Michaela, you guys, I've been hearing, and I didn't kind of get it, but I was hearing that it was supposed to have been like whiteout.
It was whiteout.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can kind of like improve on that, because not everybody really knew that it was kind of like whiteout. You know what I mean?
For the blackout game that's happening on Saturday, I'm creating a post to post on Topper Seacoast.
So Saturday's gonna be blackout?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Michaela, if you want to come up to the office and make an announcement Friday before everybody goes home, you could do that too. Our student announcements are a big hit. Anthony did that, and they listen when you guys do the announcements a lot more than listening to my tinny voice.
I'll tell Tony to do that tomorrow.
Tony's actually writing a script to do that tomorrow. And then all homeroom teachers are receiving the flyer that Michaela made to show in homeroom tomorrow. So
perfect. Yeah, we could do a center voice. We can send out, we can ask Auntie Gina with her nice voice to send out a message to everyone reminding them that tomorrow is senior night and blackout. and wear your black, and that goes out to all families. It's like an automatic message. And then I can even add in there, and be sure to grab one of our flyers and fill out our survey to tell us what suggestions you have. Let us know what we're doing well, and that we can kind of put it all together on there. So I'll work with Gina tomorrow to put that together.
Okay, that's fine. If
Thank
somebody can just write the script, that'll be fine. I can do it.
Yep, sounds good. And actually, if you guys have a script, Tasia, for the announcement during school, if you just give us that, then we can have her read that on the Center Voice.
Sounds good. We'll do.
We need to utilize that resource more.
And one more thing that Stuco's doing for the student body, we're also planning to do Valentine's Day grams. We're gonna do pre-sale orders the week before Valentine's Day, and students will be able to purchase that, I think, in the SAC room. I know me and Auntie Tasia needs more time to talk about that, but we're gonna talk about it tomorrow with the rest of Stuco, since it's like too early in the morning for everybody to process.
Yeah. There's one more thing that I actually didn't bring up to Stuco yet, Michaela, that's because it just got finalized today, is May Day will be on May 1st. The May Day court applications are going to begin next week, Monday, and will run for 2 weeks until February 3rd, which is a Friday. Students will be tasked to write an essay, just a short essay, and then just fill out a written application. And then after the application window closes, then there's going to be a panel of community members who will do an in-person interview. And so first preference will be given to seniors, and then juniors, and then sophomores, and so on and so forth. But they do have to go through the written piece as well as the interview piece.
Yes, TJ.
Michaela, did you want to kind of like recap the winter dance, the winter night? How did that go?
Oh, winter ball. Okay, so we had doors open around 6 o'clock to 6:30. We opened up the night with the winter ball court dance, and after that, everybody got a chance to eat. Once everybody got their chance to eat, we cleared up around like 3 tables that were blocking the dance floor, and everyone just danced the whole night.
So do you feel that it was a huge success? Did you have a lot of students come?
Yes, actually, we did have a lot of students who came. I know it was kind of like late that some students came because of what was going on that day, like paddling and boys basketball coming from Hilo side. But everybody seemed to make it at that time.
I'm hearing it sounded like it was a lot of fun. People that live within like 2 blocks of the hub said the kids sounded like they were having a great time.
Yep, I could hear it from my house.
Michaela, do you think people had fun though? Like, do you think it was a success, or any revisions that you think we should make for next time?
I think people had fun. It was just like a dance that everyone thought it would be. I think it was, I don't know, I just think that people just have fun because all they was thinking about like, oh, the dance floor is open, let's just go dance. But I know like everyone ended up like really sweaty and hot in the end of the night.
That's how most good dances end. Mrs. Patel, did you have something to add?
I was just wondering, and I mean, I don't really care one way or the other, but do you think it's possible to have like a dance where like phones are not recording every single thing that everyone is doing? And like one of the things was the kids kept trying to get like the teachers to come and dance, and we would have come and danced if they hadn't shoved phones in our faces to like record us and like to then like post or do whatever it is that you guys do with those videos. I feel so old. I'm like, I don't even know what they do with them, because I know they don't store them. They probably like post them somewhere. And so that like, I don't know, causes a bit of anxiety for me that like everyone just has their phones out. Everyone's like looking for something to record, and it's not always like positive stuff that they're recording. So just an idea, like moving forward, like encouraging kids to kind of live in the moment and not be so focused on recording stuff, including like embarrassing stuff, you know, or whatever.
That's really good feedback. I like that. I think it would be good to have some dances where kids are just dancing and enjoying the night. I think there's something to be said for being in the moment and just remembering it how you remember it instead of feeling that you've got to snap pictures or videos of everything.
Well, I don't. Did they need a permission form to go to the winter ball?
Yes, and I actually had one student sneak in with a ticket. They didn't have a permission form, and I had to call the mom's workplace
Oh gosh,
to get emergency. Yes,
I don't know,
so
but those permission forms, do they have anything on there about like video release and things like that? Because
no, there isn't.
you
Actually,
know, what if we have a student that has the no video release form thing that not signed, and they're at the dance, and just so happened somebody recorded them and posted it? That could put us kind of in big trouble, kind of deal. So I don't know. Just
so with liability issues, if we host it and we don't post anything, are we still liable? Is that a
No, because the release form is just that we're not, if they say no, we're not allowed to put them in the yearbook or post pictures on our school websites. So we can't be held liable for that piece. But no, I think that would be an interesting conversation with leadership and with the students and just kind of better understand. I think they'd have a lot more fun and they'd see teachers and staff get a lot more into it too, which I know is always exciting for them if they didn't have the phones out all the time, you know.
I just think that it runs kind of like deeper too. Like, I mean, it starts with the dances, but you know, like kids are like also like secretly recording teachers, you know, and stuff like that, like in classrooms. And I don't know if they realize like what a big issue that is. Like that is just wildly inappropriate. And I think it's illegal as well if it's not like if the person doesn't know they're being recorded. Isn't there like something with that or no?
Different states have different guidelines, but in Hawaii, you don't have to let someone know if you're recording them.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
I think if it's in a public place too. I mean, if it's a public area, then there's no rules to that, I think.
So does that go for teachers then as well? So like, can we record students like if they're saying stuff or doing things in class that are like wildly inappropriate? Or is it just students can do whatever they want?
That's a really interesting conversation to get into. Yeah, that gets a little bit sticky for teachers when it comes to that. With students, I think it's a huge breach of trust. And I think that that's why, you know, in classes, we've got to decide what if, I think we talked about as long as it's on airplane mode, it can be on your desk. I almost prefer that it's on desks because then I know what's going on with it. But at the same time, kids can have it recording and turned upside down as well. I mean, it's just, I think we've got to work on, you know, what types of things we're teaching kids and talking about integrity and character and, you know, what these types of, what's your purpose for doing that and what these types of things breed. But yeah, when it comes to teachers, no, we cannot record students because that's a whole nother issue that we get into with this being our workplace and what our job is. So I'd have to look into with students recording though, because that's something that we can put into our own policy and have consequences for that, even if, you know, in a public space, and if you're in your own space, you can do that. Here's what our rule is on school, because we can determine that if there's going to be any consequences for that.
And I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, Michaela. I'm not meaning like to say like, I don't want you guys to have phones ever, but I do just want like students to learn to use them responsibly. And so I don't mean to like come down on like, no recording, no nothing, no fun with your phones. That's not like what I mean.
No, and we're trying to find that balance with time and place, right? And helping you guys learn time and place, because we use our phones, but we're not on games and we're not filming people when we're in the middle of doing our job. And that's what we're trying to teach with, right now, kids' job is being at school. That's your job, that's your occupation, and knowing the times that it's okay to use it and times it's not. We give time at recess and lunch and during your breaks and before and after school. And we don't completely prohibit them from coming to school, which some schools do. And if it's seen, it's taken kind of thing. We're not doing that. We're trying to help students just better understand how to manage them a little bit better. I become a game junkie sometimes when I get home. That's how I relax. But at work, it's on and I'm doing what I need to for school, and I stay focused on stuff at school, even during lunch, even during my break.
Thanks, Michaela, for giving us the update on the winter ball. I just kind of wanted to get a feel on it since it just happened this past December.
Yeah, great job. That was a lot of work. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
I believe that's all of the agenda items that we have on for this evening. Anybody questions, comments?
Nope, I just added into the minutes that the next meeting is going to be Thursday, February 23rd at 5 o'clock.
Yes, so for those of you that kind of jumped on a little later, we're moving our SCC meetings now to the 4th Thursday of every month at 5 o'clock, and hope that works for everyone. Being that there's no more agenda items that we need to cover for this evening, can I get a motion for adjournment, please? Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Gina. It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Can I talk to you real quick, Amy? Just on here after everybody leaves.
Happy Aloha
Okay.
Friday, everybody.
So meeting is adjourned, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. See you next month.
Bye, guys.
Aloha.
Bye, everyone. Oh, Jess, while I have you here in the same context,
You-
um,
wait, wait now.